Workplace attraction ranks among the strangest forces in human behavior, because it can feel identical to love while having almost nothing to do with the actual person you think you're falling for. And it's rarely harmless, because at work you're never dealing with just your feelings. You're simultaneously dealing with your career. So in this video, I'm going to help you untangle it properly. You'll learn the 4 psychological forces that make an office crush feel so overwhelming, even when the real connection isn't actually there. You'll learn the single question that cuts straight through the confusion and reveals whether what you're feeling is genuine or manufactured. And you'll learn exactly what's at stake if you act on it and get it wrong, because that part matters far more than most people let themselves admit. By the end, you'll be able to do something most people never manage. Look at that person clearly and know the difference between real attraction and a feeling your workplace built for you. Here's the one thing you need to understand first. Bear with me for a moment, because skipping this will make the rest of the video hard to follow. Attraction isn't a verdict your soul hands down about someone's deep compatibility with you. It's a feeling, and a feeling is simply your nervous system reacting to a set of inputs. Change the inputs and you change the feeling, which means the exact same rush you'd label chemistry can be produced by things that have nothing to do with the person standing in front of you and everything to do with the situation you're both trapped inside. And the workplace stacks those inputs higher than almost anywhere else in adult life: pressure, repetition, proximity, shared stakes. You're marinating 5 days a week in the exact conditions that make a human brain manufacture feelings of closeness. And your brain, bless it, isn't sophisticated enough to check whether those feelings are actually about the person or about the pressure cooker you happen to share. It just registers the intensity and reaches for the nearest explanation available, which is almost always, I must be into them. So the real question is never simply, do I have feelings for this person? The real question is, where are these feelings actually coming from? Let's find out. There are 4 culprits, and once you can name them, they lose their power to fool you. The first is stress. Stress bonds you to whoever helps you survive it. Start here, because it's the engine driving the entire thing. When you're under pressure, and work is essentially a permanent source of pressure, your nervous system goes hunting for safety. That's its job. It wants regulation, relief, some sense that things will be okay. And whoever happens to provide that relief gets tagged deep in the older regions of your brain as important, significant, someone your system wants to keep close. Picture the colleague who calms you down before the big presentation, or catches your mistake before the client does, or simply makes an awful afternoon a little less awful with the right comment at the right moment. Your brain doesn't file that under pleasant coworker. It files it under source of safety in a threatening environment, and that category sits dangerously close to how it files the people we love. The relief is real. The warmth is real. It's just that a good chunk of it is gratitude for being helped through stress, wearing the costume of romance. Here's a test worth sitting with. Strip away the shared pressure entirely. If this person weren't your lifeline through the chaos of the workday, say you'd met them somewhere calm with nothing on the line, would the feeling survive the change of scenery? Sometimes it absolutely would. Often, though, it turns out you weren't drawn so much to them as to the safety they represented when you needed it badly. Tell me in the comments, has a work crush ever completely evaporated the moment you left the job? Because that timing isn't a coincidence, and I suspect quite a few of you are nodding right now. Number 2, familiarity feels exactly like chemistry. This one is the sneakiest because it operates entirely below your awareness, and it's remarkably convincing. There's a well-established effect in psychology. The more we're exposed to something, the more we tend to like it. Simple repetition breeds preference. Your brain treats familiar as a close cousin of safe because, for most of human history, the face you saw every single day belonged to someone in your tribe, not a threat. So familiarity automatically gets a little warm tag attached to it, whether or not it's actually earned. Now consider that you see your colleague more than you see almost anyone else in your life, more than your friends, sometimes depressingly more than your own family. Day after day, the same face, the same voice, the same presence on endless repeat. Your brain runs its ancient arithmetic. Seen constantly, still here, no threat detected, and it quietly upgrades them from stranger to safe, and given enough exposure to someone I feel a real pull toward. That pull feels like chemistry because from the inside, familiarity and chemistry are almost impossible to tell apart. This is exactly why you can develop an intense thing for someone you've barely had a real conversation with. It was never actually about the conversations. It was about the sheer number of hours your brain has logged in their presence, mistaking accumulated exposure for a deep, fated connection. Volume of contact is not the same thing as depth of connection, but your nervous system has never really been great at telling the two apart. Number 3, you've turned their competence into an entire personality. This one is almost flattering, right up until you catch yourself doing it. When you watch someone genuinely excel at their job, confident in a meeting, sharp under pressure, calmly handling something that would have made you sweat, something in your brain takes that single quality and generously stretches it across their whole character. If they're competent here, the logic goes, they must be competent everywhere, emotionally intelligent, a wonderful partner, brilliant with children, excellent to their mother, steady in a crisis, delightful on a Sunday morning. You've met exactly one version of this person, the professional one, in the one environment specifically designed to showcase that. And from that single curated slice, you've constructed an entire imagined partner and quietly fallen for them. The competence you witnessed is genuine. The full human being you've built around it is largely fiction, assembled by your own hopeful brain from almost no actual data. And it's a spectacularly incomplete picture because you're missing everything the office never reveals. How they handle disappointment that has nothing to do with work, whether they're kind when there's nothing to gain from it, who they are when they're tired, unguarded, and not being evaluated by anyone. Being magnificent in a meeting tells you they're magnificent in meetings. It tells you remarkably little about who they'd be at 2 a.m. when something has genuinely gone wrong. Be honest with me down in the comments. Have you ever built an entire dream partner out of someone who was simply good at their job? No judgment, half of us have probably done exactly that. I just want you to catch yourself in the act, that's all. Number 4, surviving things together feels like intimacy. This last one is the most powerful, and the hardest for people to argue with, because the bond it creates feels so undeniably real. When you go through something difficult alongside another person, that brutal deadline, the project that nearly collapsed, the impossible client you both somehow survived, you come out the other side feeling profoundly close to them. Shared adversity bonds people, it always has. There's a reason people who go through intense experiences together describe a closeness that's genuinely hard to explain to anyone who wasn't in the trenches with them. The trouble is, your brain doesn't neatly separate "we survived a stressful thing together" from "we shared deep emotional intimacy." The feeling of having been through it with someone gets filed under connection, full stop. And at work, where you're constantly surviving things together, that manufactured intimacy accumulates fast. Every shared victory, every crisis weathered as a team, lays down another layer of something that feels exactly like a bond built on love. But it's often a bond built on adrenaline and circumstance instead. Real intimacy and situational intimacy can feel absolutely identical in the moment. Here's how you tell them apart. Situational intimacy needs the situation to stay alive. Remove the shared stakes, the deadline, the crisis, the is against the workday of it all, and see what's actually left standing between the two of you. If genuine connection exists underneath, it holds up on its own once the pressure lifts. If there was only ever the shared foxhole, the closeness tends to fade the moment you're no longer defending it together. So does this mean it's never real? No. And I don't want you walking away thinking every office feeling is a delusion, because that isn't true, and that isn't the point. There's a reason so many people fall for someone at work, and it isn't the reason you'd expect. See, most workplace attraction isn't really about the other person at all. The workplace is simply one of the most common places on earth to develop romantic feelings, and it's also one of the most likely places to be completely wrong about them. That's because the very environment that seems to spark an undeniable connection is also engineered almost perfectly to manufacture a feeling that isn't actually real. And most people can't tell the two apart. They feel the intensity and trust it because surely something this strong has to mean something. I'm not here to tell you never catch feelings at work. People do, and sometimes those feelings are genuine. I'm here to help you avoid the mistake of trusting the intensity of a feeling as proof that it's real. At work, intensity is exactly what your environment produces on its own, whether real connection is there or not. Plenty of real, lasting relationships genuinely do begin at work. The point isn't that workplace attraction is fake. The point is that the workplace floods you with so many attraction manufacturing forces at once: the stress, the exposure, the halo of competence, the shared victories, that you genuinely can't tell what's real until you separate the feeling from the forces creating it. Your job isn't to dismiss the feeling. It's simply to test it. And the test is the same one running underneath all four culprits. Would this survive outside the building? Picture the person with none of the workplace scaffolding holding the feeling up. No shared pressure, no daily exposure, no professional stage, no crisis to survive together. Just the two of you somewhere ordinary, with nothing at stake at all. If real interest is still standing there in the calm, then you've got something genuinely worth taking seriously. But if the feeling needs the office to survive, then it was the office you were responding to, not the person. And that's genuinely useful to know before you act on any of it. Now let's bring this all home. The reason an office crush feels so overwhelming isn't that you've found your person against all odds. It's that you're standing inside a machine practically engineered to generate the feeling. Stress bonding you to whoever helps you cope. Familiarity masquerading as chemistry. One impressive quality inflated into an entire imagined partner. And shared survival mistaken for love. None of that makes what you feel imaginary. It simply makes it worth examining before you trust it. So the next time your chest does a little flip when a certain someone walks past your desk, don't panic and don't propose. Just ask the one question that cuts through all four illusions at once. Would I still feel this if we didn't work together? Sit with the honest answer. It will tell you almost everything you need to know. Here's the truth I need you to carry out of this video and into every fluorescent lit office, every late night deadline, every shared crisis that ever made your chest tighten around someone across the room. Feelings are not evidence. Intensity is not proof. And the workplace, for all its polish and professionalism, is one of the most sophisticated feelings